This year, we'll be telling your clients stories just when they need to hear them and share them with your clients. After all, when you tell a story, it makes all the difference. If I told the story of the 3 little pigs to a group of 5-year-olds, it would be a fable. If I told the story of the 3 little pigs to a group of general contractors at a conference, it would be a case study. If I told the story of the 3 little pigs at a summer campfire with a bunch of preteens, it would be a scary Cujo story. And if I told the story of the 3 little pigs on a first date, well, there probably wouldn't be a second date. Each month, we'll tackle fears your clients have about income security and wealth preservation using innovative and creative insurance solutions. This month, we'll highlight charitable giving using insurance and how to maximize your clients' pensions and minimize their taxes. Each month's series will last about 50 minutes, and you must be logged on for a full 50 minutes to receive CFP credit. And since timing is everything, please ask questions as you have them by typing them in. We'll do our best to answer them as they come in. Today's story will be recorded and will be posted on our website within a week in case you missed any of the plotline. Today's storyteller reads a lot, constantly monitoring the insurance and financial services industry to ensure your clients are getting the most up-to-date recommendations. He joined LLIS in 2003 with his CFP and MBA, and has been writing the LLIS story as president and CEO since 2013. And now, Mark Maurer.
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you everybody for tuning in today. I know it's a busy time of year. We all have things that we're trying to get taken care of, and I imagine your CE is one of those things. So that's why you've tuned in today. So I want to talk today about some things that I think usually come around end of the year, things that we talk about and we start thinking about. Unfortunately, some of these things, while they're great to think about, we don't always get them accomplished and may not be able to get them done by the end of the year. But we think about it at the end of the year, so I wanted to talk about them at the end of the year, and maybe if you're like me, at the end of this year or sometime by the end of next year, you'll actually be able to talk with clients about these or get them to start thinking about these things. Because it is the season to give. And so what we're going to talk about today is using insurance to fund a public legacy, to fund a private legacy, and we're also going to talk about pension max. May not seem related right away, but again, sometimes at the end of the year, people start already thinking about retirement for the next year. And so it's things that we start thinking about, oh, if I can get through this one more year, then I can retire next year. So we're going to look a little bit at pension max and that idea too. So first, let's talk about a public legacy. And why does life insurance, at least in my humble opinion, why does life insurance work well? Well, it provides cash. I don't know really of anything that, except maybe hugs, that we'd rather have than cash. So life insurance provides cash to a beneficiary, some person, some entity. We all want to be the beneficiary at somebody's death. So when we talk about a legacy, some of us, some people may be able to leave a legacy in life and be able to see it and enjoy it. A lot of people, the legacy is what they pass on at death. Whatever I haven't used in my life, I pass to my children or my church, my synagogue, my favorite charity. So life insurance works really well because it provides cash, which is easy to do things with, to somebody at my death. And there are some additional advantages to life insurance, is that life insurance is one of the few things that still passes income tax-free at death. The IRS for however many decades has viewed life insurance, the death benefit of life insurance, as a social good, and so its tax advantage. Death benefit of a life insurance policy passes on tax-free, which I don't know much about life, but I know tax-free is good. And properly structured, it can be included or not included in someone's taxable estate, so it can be income tax-free and estate tax-free. It's a great rate of return. With investments, we need time to make $10,000 a year grow into a big pot of money. With life insurance, you can have $10,000 and it's a giant pot of money if you die right away. Over time, they about even out. The investments catch up to life insurance and life insurance catches up to the investments. But life insurance has a fantastic rate of return if we don't have time to make investments grow long enough. It's stable, it's predictable. Policies now, you can even specify a guaranteed premium and a guaranteed death benefit that passes at your, for as long as you live, your lifetime. So it can be very stable and predictable, premiums not reappearing, all kinds of things. And with life insurance, again, with some of the guarantees and the no lapse guarantee policy, there's no correlation with financial markets. Stock market goes up, stock market goes down. That life insurance policy is still $1 million regardless. So investments can be investments and the life insurance can be life insurance. So why leave a public legacy? Why are we talking about a public legacy? Well, we're talking about it because Americans are generous. And actually, donations have increased for the past 6 years, according to Charity Navigator. In 2015, Americans donated $373 billion. Yes, billion with a B, $1 billion to the missions of charities and nonprofit organizations. So Americans are generous, and life insurance can be a good way to enhance a legacy in a public way. So why do we look at life insurance? Well, there's leveraging, there's discounting. We talk about replacement, and we talk about recognition. So let's look at each one of those a little bit more detail. So if we look at leveraging, the death benefit is going to exceed premiums paid. If I give a charity $50,000, they get $50,000. If I pay $50,000 into a life insurance policy, I may be able to pass a charity $200,000 or $250,000. So I leverage what the charity will ultimately receive by using the life insurance. So I get to leverage that. And increasing the legacy to match the passion. You know what? If I could write a check for $200,000 to a charity, that sounds pretty cool. If I could write the same $200,000 check and know that I'm passing $1 million or $1.25 million to a charity, that feels even cooler. Making sure that charity has $1 million, it might be a while, but I'm excited about it, and so being able to pass on a larger number is exciting. Discounting. Again, discounting, similar to leveraging. My death benefit is always going to exceed my premiums paid. So I get to discount my dollars today for a much larger amount later. For example, $200,000 today can provide for a $500,000 gift, maybe even more. So that's the idea, that it's exciting that my gift, we consider it as $500,000, not necessarily the $200,000. Replacement. This is key. When we talk about passing on assets and leaving a legacy, probably the first people who we want to leave money to are our children, our family members. Using life insurance to fund a public legacy replaces assets that would or could have gone to family members. So there's a $2 million estate, and this person really was a big fan of the Humane Society. They leave the Humane Society $1 million. Well, the kids aren't happy because they just saw half the estate go to a bunch of dogs and cats and whatever there might be there. So they're not really happy about it. They said that they're looking at the going, that was our money, so assets didn't go to us. So you can use life insurance to still provide $1 million legacy to the cats and dogs of the world, but maybe pay $200,000 or $250,000 for the life insurance, leave that $1 million legacy, and the kids get 1.75. They're probably much less upset about that, and probably remember mom or dad much more favorably. And it also protects the legacy. Those kids really might not like cats and dogs. Mom and dad, they might have had 5 or 6 dogs every year growing up, and all the time, 8 or 9 cats. Said, we're tired, we don't like dogs and cats. And somebody says, kids, when I pass away, make sure that you give some money to the Humane Society. And you know what? The kids, that's not in the trust or the will or something. The kids may or may not do that. So life insurance, we'll touch on a little bit because of some of the ownership and beneficiary designations, they can protect that charity, protect that legacy, that public legacy, just kind of protect it from the kids. And recognition. A lot of charities have planned giving groups designations. So many times you can get a recognition of a much larger deferred gift when you use life insurance. So you may be able to not write a $5 million check. If you can, great. Most of us can't. But some people might not be able to write a $5 million gift, but may be able to fund a $5 million life insurance policy. And that may give them the naming rights to a building, a dorm. It bumps them into a different donor category. A lot of donor categories are based on sort of what was given this year. What's that amount? But a lot of times there's different categories based on, if there's a life insurance policy, if there's a much larger recognition. So they can be recognized for the deferred gift today, and that deferred gift is going to be a much larger number than the premiums paid. So you may be able to get better football tickets. You may be able to have your name higher than somebody else's on the plaque by the front door. So recognizing it's that recognition of the larger life insurance amount sometimes is important for people who may want their name on something or who may want first row tickets. And there is some extra underwriting involved with life insurance and leaving a public legacy. Insurance companies want to issue policies, but they want to make sure that there's at least some sort of reason for the life insurance, especially when somebody's already has life insurance for income replacement and the normal things that we use. And so just to make sure that we don't have people who are overinsured through lots of different avenues. So one of the questions is going to be the purpose. Well, I went to school there. I've been a deacon for the last 20 years. Recently I had someone who wanted to leave a hospital a life insurance policy because her husband had gotten such good care there in the last few months of his life. She didn't really have what it shows here, a history of giving. There was no reason to have a history of giving, but there was a reason, there was a purpose because of this specific thing. A history of giving always helps. Is there a loss? Will the charity feel it if this person isn't there because they've been making gifts for a long period of time? Again, insurable interest, kind of like that history of giving. Is there a reason, a loss? Is it reasonable to expect that there would be a loss if this person wasn't there? And then will the charity accept an insurance policy? Depending on the answer, depends on who's going to own the policy and where the deductions come in. I'm going to touch on that in just a second. But some charities don't want to own a policy. We tried to assist an advisor on a client one time with a Ivy League university, and they said, you can give it to us, but we'll just surrender it for the cash values. We won't really keep it going. We'll just take it, cash it in, and away we go. So some, again, plan giving areas of charities have people who are involved with this. Some may not. So if we have the charity as the owner, so charity is the owner and beneficiaries. Really, I can own the client can own the policy themselves, or the charity can be the owner and beneficiary of the policy. And we use Metropolitan Ministries here. This is a local charity here in town that our office will be volunteering with on Friday. They do a holiday tent where people can come and get a holiday meal, toys for kids, and so we're going to be, our office will all be there helping out to help pass things out. And so we use that here. It's something that we've done for a few years, and it's really a lot of fun. When the charity is the owner, the premiums are deductible now. The charity owns the policy. I write a premium check, or the client writes a premium check to Metropolitan Ministries. That premium is deductible now. You can design it with a single premium or short pay, and you want the charity to be long-lasting. This is an entity that is going to own a life insurance policy on the client. So we want to make sure that it stays with the one charity. And these gifts are not reversible. The charity owns the policy, and they can do whatever they want with the charity as the owner. It has all the rights of the contract. And the premiums go to the charity, same thing, same way as anybody would make a normal gift to a charity. You hope that the charity then uses that gift to pay the premiums. That's why that's important to have that planned giving and people who know what's involved. Otherwise, they may just take those premiums and use them for regular expenses, and then all of a sudden the policy lapses and it didn't do what it was designed to do. So John is the insured, and the organization is going to be the owner and beneficiary. Again, Metropolitan Ministries. So John, every year, however it's designed, donates the premiums, makes a donation to Metropolitan Ministries. It's deductible at that point. He's donating the premiums to the charity, and then the charity cashes that check, and they pay the premiums to the insurance company. The charity will get the death benefit, tax-free, they're a charity, but John gets a deduction for the premiums now, not the policy amount, but the premiums that are paid to the charity. Well, let's make John the owner and the insured. So now the charity doesn't own the policy, John owns it himself because he wants to keep his options open for a rainy day. See the umbrella there, rainy day? Whew, tough crowd. So John is going to own the policy. He wants to keep control of it. He might like that charity a lot, but says, I'm just not sure about having some entity own a life insurance policy on me. Just not sure I want to do that. So I'm going to take out a life insurance policy, and I'm going to name the charity as the beneficiary. So John owns the policy, John is the insured, and he names the charity as the beneficiary. Now in this case, the life insurance, because he owns it, is included in his estate. When the charity owns it, it's not included in his estate. It could be an $800 million policy. And at his death, the charity gets $800 million. None of that was taxable at John's death because the charity owned the policy. In this case, if John owns the policy, it is included in his taxable estate. However, it's a charitable donation, deduction at death. So even though it was included in his estate, it's a wash because it's deducted when it's paid out to the beneficiary, which is a charity. Again, John can design the premiums however he wants, but they're not deductible. He gets no deduction until death. Like I said, premium is not deductible. So I don't get to deduct anything in life. But my trade-off for that, or John's trade-off, is that he can change his mind. Change his mind about having the policy at all. Change his mind about the charity. He may decide that he was really into the Humane Society, Metropolitan Ministries for a while, but then found the love of cats and dogs and said, you know what, I want to have that policy all for Metropolitan Ministries. Now I want to add Humane Society. And then I want to add this, that, and the other. So he can change his mind. He can say, I don't like that charity anymore. When the charity owns a policy, he can't get it back. In this case, he still retains control, so he can make changes to the beneficiaries however he wants and divide it between charities, like I mentioned. So we'll have John be the insured and the owner, and he just names a university as the beneficiary. He pays the premium to the insurance company. Policy is included in his taxable estate, no deduction. At death, then the insurance company distributes the life insurance proceeds to however he named the beneficiaries. Something I didn't mention before. He can change the beneficiaries as often as he likes. If you name the charity as the owner, can't get it back, can't change that. If he owns the policy, well, then he can just change it willy-nilly. He can change it every week if he wants. Hope he has a little bit something better to do than change his beneficiaries every week, but he could change it every year. Lots of flexibility because he owns it. It's included in his estate. So only the deduction comes about at death when it's included in his taxable estate on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side, he gets a charitable deduction for the death benefit too, so it doesn't really impact anything. So let's look at Julie. She was 38 when we started this process with her. She was a COO of an engineering firm. She's 38, making $325,000 a year. I also know how much travel she did, so I didn't envy her at all. So much travel. But she was the winner of the Young Alumni Award for her college in 2013. And she really liked her college, felt very strongly about it, wanted to be involved. And so since she'd graduated college, she'd been giving $100 a month. And so she's very, very involved in her college and wants to make sure that if something happened to her, that money's going to continue. So we looked at helping her with a $100,000 life insurance policy because she wanted to do more. I like my $100 a month, but maybe it just didn't feel like it's doing a lot. But if I can say I'm leaving $100,000 to my college, that feels like a big number. I like that. She was, excited about that. So we're still going to give the monthly, but like the idea of this larger policy too, this endowment, this legacy. And so we looked at the underwriting, sort of those extra underwriting things we talked about. The purpose of the gift, well, is to make sure that if something happened to her, the money she had been giving would continue. Does she have a history of giving? Yes, since she graduated. Is there an insurable interest? Again, because we have that history of giving, the college would have a loss of revenue, basically, if something were to happen to her. And will the charity accept a life insurance policy? Not without a lot of hassle, but eventually they did. And we wanted to make sure, Julie wanted to make sure that the charity owned the policy because she was looking for, with her income, she was looking for a deduction now. She wasn't concerned about, she's 38, 40, 50, 60 years from now in a taxable estate. She was looking for a way to make a bigger impact with her gifts as well as get a current deduction right now. So we actually designed it so that this $100,000 policy was only going to have two premiums, $480,000. So you can see that's almost a 1 to 10 leveraging, paying in just under $10,000 to pass on $100,000 to her college. And this was a no-lapse guarantee life insurance policy. That means there are stated death benefits, stated premiums, and as long as these two premiums are paid on time, which again, she makes the premium payments to the college pays the premiums on the policy. So she makes her donations, the college pays the premium. As long as those two premiums were paid on time, this policy is going to last for her lifetime and pass on to the college. So she gets to see the deduction now because the college is the owner. And the college knows that a number of years from now, there's going to be a $100,000 policy coming in, $100,000 gift that they'll be able to use. So why do we leave a private legacy? Well, a lot of people, we hear about people who say, I don't really care if I leave my kids anything. I want to use up all my money, and maybe they get the car. But most people really want to leave something to their kids. I think a lot of people have had that in the past. Growing up, we had a neighbor who, she was just getting by, and all of her kids were very successful. But to her, making sure that she left them something was paramount, because sometimes there's something in us as humans that says what we pass on at our death is some way correlated to how we did in life. And so to her, her kids didn't need it, didn't want it. They would have rather she not left them anything and been able to do a little bit nicer things for herself. But she wanted to make sure that she had something there at the end of her life to leave them. And so I think that's built into a lot of people. And so we can look at using life insurance to do exactly that. Why life insurance? Well, like I talked about with the no lapse guarantee policies, we can guarantee a particular amount of insurance. We can guarantee a $1 million life insurance policy passes to ABC beneficiaries at my death. And I can use one single premium if I wanted to. I can guarantee the premium to guarantee that face amount. And I know that I'm going to pay in less than what that death benefit is ultimately going to be. So I already have some leverage. Properly structured? Well, always life insurance is going to pass income tax-free to the beneficiaries. And it can be estate tax-free as well if properly structured. And it passes outside of probate. Luckily, I haven't had to be the executor of anybody's will yet. I hope I don't have to for a very long time. But from the stories I've heard of people who have had to, probate is not a lot of fun. Life insurance passes to the contracted beneficiary. It passes by contract, not through the estate, not through the will. So you can make sure that whoever you want to get this policy actually gets it very quickly. And it's a fixed amount of money. It's a $1 million policy that passes to this person, to my son, to my daughter, to my whoever it might be, my spouse. Know exactly what it's going to be, when it's going to be paid out, and it goes right to them without having to go through probate and the will. And there's lots of different uses for permanent life insurance. On the grand scale, to fund estate taxes. But number two, fund estate taxes, that's not a lot of people today anyway. We'll see what happens every year that goes forward. But replenishing assets, I think that is most people. The money that I spend down in the last years of my life in retirement, I'm using up everything that I save for in life. And so I can use the life insurance to replenish those assets for my spouse, my beneficiaries. Create liquidity. What if the only asset is a house? The illiquid assets. People, many times, the person who receives the life insurance proceeds has never managed any of the finances of the household ever. And so it's a checkbook, it's a lump sum of cash that you can say as an advisor, Mrs. Client, Mr. Client, here's $100,000 that we can live off of. You don't have to sell the house. You don't have to make any decisions right now. This is money here that we can use so we don't have to make any decisions. Equalizing an estate. Farm. One son or daughter runs a farm. The other lives in the big city. The really only asset is the farm. So how do you split a farm with somebody who is the obvious heir apparent and someone who really has no interest? You can use life insurance to equalize an estate. Fund a special needs trust. For lots of parents, you have life insurance, term life insurance, to protect income while in case something happens to one spouse. However, with a special needs child who may have a normal life expectancy, there's another need that happens, possibly even a greater need, when both parents are gone. Because as parents, we do things for free to care for our kids that you'd have to pay people a lot of money to do. So having private legacy, permanent life insurance to fund a special needs trust in the scenario where both parents aren't there to provide care or provide capital to continue a business. A lot of times we think of buy-sell examples, and people are out of the business by age 65 or 70. But many times you may have families, closely held partnerships, where really somebody's going to own their shares of the business till they die, and then the life insurance can be used to create the funding to buy out that person's shares. And we have the same benefits with a private legacy that we do for a public. Leveraging. Death benefit is going to exceed the premiums paid. Discounting. Sort of the same thing, but in reverse. Death benefit exceeds the premiums paid. Replacement. Again, I'm going to use up all of my assets. I think of my neighbor. We called her Grandma Demery. She was holding on to assets to not use in life so that she would have something to spend to pass on to her kids. What if there would have been a life insurance policy that she knew would pass so that she could have used up all of her assets? When you have to, when you say, I want to pass on X dollars to my family and I have to keep that in cash or real assets, liquid assets, you live differently because you watch that more carefully than if you said, I want to leave $1 million to my kids. I wrote a $150,000 check, and now I can use up every dollar I have. You live differently. So a replacement can be freeing for people. So we're going to talk about policy ownership choices for private legacies. So Jonathan is looking at some issues. He has some children, and he's also looking at taxes. And Jonathan, he's 44, but he's got a pretty complicated situation going on here. Jonathan, he has 2 kids from a previous marriage, and they're older. Look at him, that one guy's got a whole beard. And he has a second wife, Jenny, who's 42. And with Jenny, first wife isn't in the picture anymore, but with Jenny, they have an 8-year-old son, Benny. So Jonathan has quite a complicated life going on here. But it's okay. He's got a $6 million whole life insurance policy. And you know what? He thought that was going to take care of all these different things. He was paying $100,000 a year for this policy. And why did I say Jonathan's doing okay? Well, his net worth was $20 million already. So, not complicated family situation, complicated financial situation, but wouldn't go with a hardship on the financial situation component. But as I'm reviewing this with the advisor, who client had an existing relationship with somebody else, and the advisor started working with this client and brought this to me, realized that Jonathan owns that $6 million whole life insurance policy personally. So why do we have Uncle Sam up there? Well, Jonathan's net worth was $20 million. right? This $6 million just goes right into his estate. So increases his taxable estate by $6 million. But he retained control to make changes. So that's sort of like with the public legacy. I get to keep it, I get to make changes, but that's included in my taxable estate. So he wasn't using any gifting. Why is this a big deal? It's a $6 million policy, but we consider that the last thing in his estate. Uncle Sam is going to take 50% of it. So it was a $6 million life insurance policy that he owned himself, but after tax, $3 million was going somewhere, was going to somebody because of the estate tax hit. So we looked at how do we provide for the family much more efficiently. And so what we had the idea of is basically to look at two new types of policies, two different policies, and once those are in place, surrender the existing policy and basically use the cash values there to pay for some of the premiums of these other policies. So we looked at one policy where the older children own it. They must be the age of majority, but because they own the policy, not Jonathan, it is excluded from Jonathan's taxable estate. Now the kids own the policy, so they control the policy. Got to make sure that they're pretty good kids, responsible, going to make the premium payments. Because what Jonathan does is he makes gifts to the owners. He makes the gifts to the kids. And that's under the annual gift exemption. He's going to make those gifts every year. And those kids are supposed to, and if they're smart, they're going to, pay the premiums for the life insurance. So we looked at a life insurance, a universal, no lapse guarantee universal life insurance policy just on Jonathan that his two kids were going to own. And he was going to make 2 annual gifts to them, because there's 2 kids, $28,000 a year for 10 years. He makes the gifts to the kids pay the premiums, and it's going to guarantee just over $2 million for his lifetime. He made 10 gifts, $28,000, guarantees $2 million that his kids will receive at his death, because they're the beneficiaries. They are the owners, they are the beneficiaries, removed from Jonathan's taxable estate. And that takes care of his older kids. But now we're worried about Benny. Worried about taking care of Benny. So we looked at policy number 2, and this one we looked at an ILIT, or an irrevocable life insurance trust. Again, a key component here is to have the policy removed from Jonathan's taxable estate. It's already at $20 million. We don't need an extra $6 million in it. I can think of worse problems to have, but if we can fix it, it's great. So we have the ILIT be the owner and beneficiary. So the life insurance here is excluded from his taxable estate. The trustee controls the policy and the trust. Now Jonathan and Jenny make gifts to the trust on behalf of Benny. And with the ILIT, Jonathan gets to control from beyond the grave. Well, you can set up funny things in the trust about who gets what at certain ages, but it does provide for some control that Jonathan can set up, setting up the trust, as how the life insurance gets passed to the kids, or to Benny. But the ILIT also provides some extra layers of protection. Benny's 8. You can't leave money to an 8-year-old. Can't do it. It's not age of majority. So the ILIT provides for protection from creditors, predators, and divorce. So you have that extra layer of a trustee whose job is to watch out for this money, watch out for this policy for the benefit of the trust beneficiaries, who would be Benny. And in this case, the ILIT, Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust, owns a second to die, no lapse guarantee universal life policy. And it's covering Jonathan and Jenny. It passes at the second of their death. They make annual gifts to the trust. The trustee pays the premiums. And in this case, it's a $2.8 million policy guaranteed for their lifetimes. Same $28,000, same 10 years, but because we're including 2 people and a female and a younger female, the same premium dollars get more life insurance protection. The trust is the beneficiary, and the trustee distributes the money per the trust guidelines at the second death. So there's that protection. So Jonathan gifts the premiums to the trust. The trustee issues crummy letters, which are letters that basically convert the premiums from a future value gift to a present value gift. Trustee issues these letters that says beneficiaries can take money out. You have 30 days to do that. If you don't, then we're going to pay the premiums to the insurance company to pay for the life insurance. When you have an ILIT, choose a trustee wisely. It's ideal to have somebody who maybe is somewhat financially savvy. Maybe a professional trust company, an attorney, CPA, and advisor, a trusted friend. Now, if you're had somebody tell me one time that they always think that their doctor should be 20 years younger than them because you don't want your doctor to be older than you, because when you need the doctor, they won't be around. So if Jonathan's brother is 58, he's probably not a good person to be a trust beneficiary because his brother's going to be gone before Jonathan is. So, choosing the trustee is an important task. Now, if you were looking at the numbers, you notice that the same premium dollars got $2.8 million of life insurance on a couple and a little over $2 million on just Jonathan. So how do we usually determine that? Well, many times if the goal is to pass on a legacy and or estate tax planning, and there's a husband and wife, survivorship may work best, usually works best. Because it's covering two people, you get a bigger bang for your buck when you have those premiums covering two people. Additionally, estate taxes aren't due until a second death, which is even the reason why second to die policies really, for the most part, were invented. And so you have that as an option where there are a couple, there's parents, only one set of kids, his and her kids can go to that. For example, for Jonathan, we probably wouldn't have used a survivorship on him and Jenny for his previous marriage kids. It's just an odd dynamic that at her death, she would pass on the money to his previous children. Or what if the needs differ? We may have things like a second marriage where we don't want to wait. Jonathan wants to pass the assets at his death to his previous kids, not wait for Jenny. It's just weird. Illiquid estate assets, like a farm, the Hope Diamond. There may be where somebody is, you need that capital right away to split the assets. Or you have debt that one spouse doesn't want to leave to the survivor. Not uncommon for people to have quite a bit in real estate holdings, but they also have a lot of mortgages outstanding. Maybe, have a high net worth on paper, but something happens, there's not enough to pay off all the mortgages in cash, so that surviving spouse has to determine which properties to sell, how to do that, so the life insurance can be a really nice way to protect that. And the last thing we're going to talk about is pension max, and using layers to provide, to look at pension decisions and provide a more favorable outcome if it works. So who does pension max benefit? Well, it benefits me, the pensioner, the person who's retiring, because you get to pick the pension option that pays the highest income. But it also benefits the spouse or the partner because it can provide for benefits for the spouse or partner if the pensioner passes away. So let's look at David. He's 64, Dorothy's 62, and David's just about to retire from Chick-fil-A. Speaking of which, I'm hungry. But he is going to retire from Chick-fil-A, and he has a few pension options. He can take $6,570 a month, life only. That means for as long as David is alive, he will get that check every month. Could be 50 years, could be 20 months. At his death, payments stop. But he says, that's not a great deal. Dorothy's younger than me. I want to make sure I provide for her too. Okay. So within the pension election options, you can choose, it's called a joint survivor option. So it's a lower initial payment, but at death, at David's death, that benefit still continues to Dorothy. That's called 100% joint survivor, where it's the same amount that's paid as long as one or both of them are alive. And so that option was $5,290 a month. So as long as one of them is alive, they'll get $5,290. But there's a cost there. There's hidden life insurance because somebody gets some money at his death. It's hidden life insurance. So it costs them $1,240 per month to do that. So for the 100% joint survivor, they get the same amount. So if David dies, we need life insurance that would be able to provide $5,290 to Dorothy. After tax, the cost is $1,088. So the reduction between the two, $6,570 down to $5,290, cost them $12,080 in pre-tax benefits. After tax, cost them $1,088 a month. So we have hidden life insurance. So the question is, how much does David need? Well, we use a single premium immediate annuity to calculate this. Why? Well, there's a couple things. One, it's based on guarantees. And so rather than us making assumptions that he can earn 6% or 8% or somebody can earn this or somebody making this projection, it would just be a guaranteed payment. If I had X dollars today, I could guarantee Y amount for the rest of Dorothy's life. And for the most part, because it's a level and because it's level payments, the amount decreases as time goes on. We have at 62, we have maybe 30 years of income to replace. At 72, she's not going to live another 30 years, may live another 20 years, so it decreases. And we use the immediate annuity because it includes mortality assumptions. We can basically mirror a life-only payout the same as the pension, and relatively conservative. So we aren't no one's being overly aggressive in any of these assumptions. So using that SPIA calculator, we need about $949,000 today at her age 59, or at her age. In 10 years, it's down to 691,000, 15 years, 59. So you can see in 20 years, at age 79, we don't have as many years of income to replace as we do today. So the need for income replacement to her life expectancy decreases. So for less than that after-tax difference of $1,088, can we buy life insurance? As you can probably guess, because it's my example, we can. So we layered 3 or 4 different life insurance policies, 3 term policies on top of a universal life insurance policy. Why universal life insurance? Because depending on how this is, at any point, this lasts for as long as David does. So it's not just in the next 10 or 15 years. As long as he's alive, we're going to need this coverage. So it's some component of it is lifetime. But we need more today and less down the road. So by layering term policies with term expiration, so there's decreasing coverage, we can make this sort of term layer on top of some permanent coverage. And does it cost less than $1,088 a month? Just barely. It squeaks by. But David really liked the idea. He liked the idea that it wasn't all linked to his pension. And so he really liked this. So David actually put these policies in place, even though the savings about the first, right away is $18 a month. But one of the neat things is that with Pension Max, it has built-in net income increases. So had they chosen the 100% joint survivor, they'd be locked into the $5,290 every year. But because we have policies that drop off, we actually build in some net income, some extra income, because our payments out for the life insurance drop off. So for the first 10 years, they're better off by about $216 a year. Okay, nothing to write home about, still good. But in 10 years, that 10-year term policy is going to drop off. We're 10 years into the future. Everyone has 10 years less life expectancy. So in 10 years, we don't need that first policy. Now, our net extra income per year is $1,500 a year. That feels more like it. 15 years later, the 15-year term policy drops off. Now they're better off by $23.64 a year by having taken the pension max. After the 20-year term policy drops off, their net extra income, his income's the same, he took the life only, but he's paying out a lot less for life insurance because now we only have that one universal life policy. So their extra income that they're getting to keep by doing the pension max and living on, $3,700 a month. So it's almost like getting a cost of living adjustment or increases as time goes on. Plus there's a pop-up option. This is, again, something, it's a small part, but it can be a very valuable part. If Dorothy predeceases David, we've sort of been working on the assumption that David's going to pass away first and leave these policies to her. But if he dies first, he doesn't need to keep the life insurance. He could cancel it all and keep the full $65.70 per month. Or he could keep some of the insurance, leave it to his kids. But he would have the option for this quote-unquote pop-up that I could cancel all the life insurance and I keep the full $65.70. Had they done the 100% joint survivor and Dorothy passes away in 6 months, he's locked into the $52.90 for the rest of his life. Where if she passed away 6 months after doing the pension max option, David says, wow, I don't need any of the life insurance anymore. We don't have kids. He could cancel all the life insurance and he gets to keep $65.70 per month for the rest of his life. Like $12,000 a year there. So the pop-up option is a neat benefit because it gives us just another out. When does pension max work? When the retiree is healthy. Got to be able to qualify for life insurance and at pretty good rates, non-smoker. And I talk about this now because you're going to have clients who are going to be retiring next year. If they're retiring at the end of this year, we don't have time to do this. They're going to retire sometime next year, more than 3 months. We have time to look at this option. Can they get underwritten? Can they be a preferred or super preferred non-smoker? How does this work? How do the premiums compare? We have time. We need time in order to make pension max work. When should they take the joint pension option? Well, the retiree is a smoker or unhealthy. Just sort of the inverse of the other one. But most government-sponsored plans, most government-sponsored plans are very benefit-rich, and so generally the payouts are higher than anything that designed by actuaries and investment companies that would design a pension. And or if the pension payout has guaranteed annual increases. Pension max works well over the long term because the need for the insurance drops off and we create those cost of living adjustments. If there are increases every year, then the need doesn't really drop off, then it's mostly permanent life insurance, and there's generally then very little savings, if any at all. It might be all permanent insurance and it would cost more. So thank you all today. Talked about leaving a public legacy, a private legacy, and a little bit about pension max. As just a teaser for many of you all tuning in from all different parts of the country, come to the LLIS Insurance Academy. It is on the beach here in Florida, Clearwater Beach, in February. We have 2 days of insurance, fun and sun. I hope sun. It will be fun. So hopefully that's attractive to everybody right now. Probably is if some of you are from where I've seen some of the weather in the country. But for those of you who don't know us, haven't worked with us before, we're not your competition. LLIS, our only clients are fee-only advisors, and we work really hard to save advisors time and your clients money. One of the ways we do that is pre-underwriting applications and clients to avoid surprises. And we provide a lot of good content and tools on our website. We are proud sponsors of many different fee-only financial advisor groups and associations and have valued our partnership for years, valued it in 2016, and are renewing all of those relationships for 2017. We have specialists in life, disability, long-term care annuities, and the long-term care hybrid insurance solutions for you and your clients. When your clients get insurance through LLIS, we keep you in the loop with our AIM system, our application information messages. And we're here for the long haul. We manage your clients' policies now and in the future with our APE or our advanced premium email notices or notice of term expiration or our note emails. And so we do a lot of things to help make sure that the policies that you worked hard and we worked hard to help your clients get stay in place, do what they need to do. And does anybody have any questions? If you do, please type them in there in the box. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Oh, just a couple. Somebody said, is it possible to get a recording? Yes, there will be a recording that we'll probably post in the next, if not this week, it will be out on our website in the next few days, if not next week. Is there a write-up on the Pension Max strategy? Yes. If you go to our website, and at the top right, there's a tab that says Advisors and Advisor Tools. We have a Pension Max write-up, pretty much why, what, how, and that'll be out there. And if you can't find it, let me know, and I'll make sure I get it to you. All right, everybody. I hope you all have a great rest of December, a great holiday season, and hope to see a lot of you in 2017 at the Academy, and we'll do our webinars again next year. So thank you, everybody. We're very lucky to work with all of you, and thank you for a great 2016.